Okay, here we are back in AutoPlay Media Studio. I've got the same project open that I had in the last lesson, and we're going to go ahead and just stick with this for now. Let's go to the Edit, Preferences menu, and we'll go ahead and take a look at how we can change the colors of our workspace here. You see there's a tree menu here, selection for environment, and underneath that there's a variety of choices. You can actually go through here, take a look at all the different stuff. Let's go look at the environment one for now. As you can see, there's some different colors for selecting our objects and our groups. I'm going to leave those with the default colors because they work pretty good. I'm just going to change the stage colors for now. Let's go ahead and turn off the page shadow. And let's change the background to black since we have a nice white project here, and that'll give us a really strong contrast. And you would do, of course, the opposite if you were working with a dark project. You would change the background to white, so on and so forth. It just basically gives you a little more control over your design environment. Now basically, the workspace in AutoPlay Media Studio could be thought of as four basic groups of things: toolbars, panes, tabs, and dialogues. So let's take a look at that now. Toolbars are these things along the top here. You can drag them around, dock them on different sides of the screen, have them as free-floating toolbars, close them, resize them. There we go. And do all kinds of neat stuff with them. So that's really convenient. The toolbars are available for a variety of different functionality. If you go under the View menu here and hover over the Toolbars selection, you'll see the different toolbars here. We have toolbars for aligning objects, selecting objects, so on and so forth. I'm going to go ahead and put this toolbar back here for now. And let's take a look at panes. Panes are these things along the left here. As you can see, they've got a little pin in the upper right and a little X. You can click on that X to close it, and you can click on the pin to do what we call pinning or auto hide. So let's go ahead and pin these first so we can take a look at that functionality. As you can see, when they're pinned, they turn into tabs along the left side here, and when our mouse is over top of one of those tabs, the appropriate pane comes out and becomes functional. We can go ahead and do things with it, and when we click somewhere else in the workspace, it actually automatically retracts. So that's really convenient. It really opens up your workspace, and you can add from the View menu here, panes, all sorts of panes to these arrangements. For example, I can drag this one over to the left here, pin it, so on and so forth, and I get 5 panes along one side of the screen. It's real convenient. So you have access to all your toolbars, your panes, and the ability to save and restore layouts here underneath the View menu. Dialogues are a little bit different. Let's go ahead and I'm going to get rid of this. I'm going to unpin this and unpin this. So we're back to where we started for reference. And let's take a look at one of the dialogues, or an example of a dialogue. If I select this logo, for example, and I could just double click it to do this, but I'm going to do it via the Properties pane here for this example. I'm going to choose in the Quick Action area here this little ellipsis, and you can see it brings up a dialogue, and in this dialogue I'm able to select different actions that I could attach to that logo. For example, I could easily make it so that when someone clicks on that logo, it opens up a website here. For example, by selecting View Website and just typing the name of the website here and pressing OK. So that's an example of a dialogue. Now let's take a look at tabs. That's the fourth and final of the 4 that I mentioned. As you can see, we've got a page tab here. In this particular project, there's only one page, so there's only one page tab. But if I was to add a page, you'll see here that it creates another tab, and we can jump between the pages by selecting those tabs. Another example of a tab within our workspace would be if I take this pane here and I actually drag it on top of this other pane, and you'll see at some point right there a little tab appears at the bottom. If I let it go here, it actually attaches itself to the other pane and they become tabbed. So by clicking on the tabs at the bottom here, I can actually go back and forth between, I'm going to pull this out so you can see, the Properties and the Project Explorer panes. And I'm actually going to add another pane to that just so you can see how it works. Let's bring out our gallery browser, and then let's go ahead and attach it. So I'm going to drag it out here. I'm going to hold it over top until I see that little tab, and then I'm going to let it go. Now we've got 3 tabs. So that's an example of how you can integrate tabs with panes and so on and so forth. That's the basic gist of the workspace. The only other thing we'd like to take a quick look at here before we go on to the next lesson is the rulers and guides and grid. So underneath the View menu, we've got access to a grid. Let's go ahead and turn that on. And then we've got access to guidelines and ruler, and this is also a feature here to snap to the grid or snap to the page. So for example, if you're laying things out, you can arrange it so it snaps to the grid, for example, to align objects easily, so on and so forth. Let's go ahead and turn off the grid for now. And I'm going to go back to page 1 and get rid of this gallery browser. Move this over a little bit. There we go. Now, the neat thing about the rulers here is the way they work. They work the same way that, for example, rulers and guides work in Photoshop or Flash or any of the other design applications you're probably familiar with. So I'm going to go ahead and click on the ruler and just drag out here to create a guide. As you can see here, it creates it where I let go of the mouse, and we can move it around by just grabbing on the tab here, or we can even get rid of it just by clicking and dragging it out of the scene. So that's really handy. These guidelines are super great for laying stuff out, and it's exactly the same functionality you would expect from Photoshop, Flash, Illustrator, or any of those other professional design applications. So that's the gist of the Workspace. Basically, the only other thing I'll mention here real quickly is the ability to save and restore layouts. So as you can see here, we've changed our layout quite a bit. Let's go ahead and click on Restore Default. And you'll see what happens is we're back at the original layout here. So that's how it works. You can actually create different layouts for different functionalities. Maybe you enjoy one layout for creating menus and another layout for creating applications. So you can go ahead and save them and then just go back and forth between them with a single click. It's real handy and super powerful. So let's go ahead and go on to the next video lesson now. If you have any questions, meet me in the forum and I'll be happy to help you out.